Today on Earn It All podcast, we have Mr. Eddie Pinero, aka Your World Within. If you guys are on YouTube or living on the planet Earth, you probably know about Eddie. Welcome to the podcast, brother.
Hey, so pumped to be here with you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, we're really fired up to be here with you. And if you guys don't know Eddie, he's a man of many talents. International speaker, video producer, founder of what I said earlier, Your World Within. Man, he creates some of the absolute best motivational videos on social media. And today we're going to unpack where all that comes from, where he came from, and a lot of unique angles because as we've gotten to know Eddie over the last year or so, he is so much more than what you might see on YouTube. And that says a lot because you put a lot out, a lot of good stuff, brother. So happy to talk with you today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I was saying on my Instagram story on the way down, I'm like, I'm going to be hanging with Justin and Adam. It's going to be a lot of things, but it will not be boring. I promise you.
It's kind of funny. We're like, okay, should we take this like super straight edge and serious, or our kind of alter ego, side chat that we have going on? But I was like, you know what? I think people actually do want to get to know Eddie Pinero, and that could be a part of it. We'll see where the conversation goes.
Yeah. I think a really cool thing about you, Eddie, is that when we first met, I had heard your voice before. But I'd never seen you because whatever I saw or heard didn't have your face in it, but I heard your voice. And I've met probably 10 people since meeting you that also were like, oh shit, I know who that is because I've heard his voice. So like, what is that like? Like before we jump into the,
Yeah. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, you can even pause it if you want. Go to YouTube, type in Your World Within, and click anything. Click a short, click a long, just click something, and I think you'll see what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a really cool thing. I mean, I think it's the difference between being online versus real life. Because again, the feedback you get digitally is good. It's rewarding. It's a dopamine hit. But like when someone says that to you, and in part of, it took me a long time to get in front of the camera. Because for me, I'm like, the important part is the story and getting that stuff out there. This mattered to me. Hopefully it'll matter to someone else. Put it out into the world. And it was a faceless YouTube channel. So yeah, to your point, I've heard that so many times. It's like, I know your voice, never seen your face, and
just so handsome. It happens you're handsome. So
Adam. Yeah. But yeah, when I started to put my face out there, actually deepen the connection because people want to talk to a human.
Oh, so, for sure.
Yeah,
you're exactly right. Because especially now with like AI voices and stuff, you can get some really cool content out there, and it's not even a real person speaking it, Yeah. But when they put that face to the voice, and like he said, like it happens to be a cool, handsome guy, and like okay, well, what else is there? And that's part of what I wanted to get into today because you have so much more than just what you put out online. But I'm also very curious, like how a content creator of your level even comes up with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It consistently puts this stuff out because it's a really unique space to be in.
It is. And it's I think to both your point, like it's me, but it's a part of me. It's not all of me. And it's like it is the sort of the serious kind of sentimental moving things. And so like what I'll do is just throughout the day, I mean, it happened with both of us. I mean, you had a conversation. I'm like, that's going to help people. Took it offline, wrote about it, and put it out there. So it's fun because you have this lens where you're paying attention to what's going on around you. And it's like constantly looking for little nuggets or little stories that you can repackage and share in a meaningful way. Yeah. Like one of the things I've found is humans are not practical or emotional. There are some of my favorite songs. I'm like, I don't even know what the lyrics are. It's just the melody and it just feels good. Right. And so that's what I want to deliver, sort of this gateway where people can emotively feel called to change.
Well, I think you're very good at that. So let's find out like kind of where you came from and how this started, because it's one of the things we always talk about here is like, how do you do what you do and why do you do it? We just had a guy on that was a Green Beret a couple minutes ago. And I was like, okay, well, what made you want to get in to become a special forces operator in the Army? And then what made you want to get out and get into business? I'm always very fascinated at like where people come from and how they get into what they're doing.
Yeah.
So you got a pretty cool family story that I think is probably one of the first times that you and I like really started to connect. We were on a hike in Sedona, and you were telling me about your family being a big military family, in the Navy and Army and all this stuff. And I was like, I never would have known, and that's what I think is so cool about talking with you now. So like, where did you grow up? Where did you come from? Like your family background?
Yeah. I mean, military family. So my grandfather was an admiral in the Navy. My father was a major in the Army, extended family, big military, presence. So we moved a lot and got used to sort of moving and sort of the structure and discipline of a military household for sure. A lot of it's been valuable. A lot of it in the messy content creator space I've had to sort of unlearn. You know what I mean? Because it's just as counterintuitive as it may sound, like growth is messy a lot of the time, but yeah, it was the way I like to put it, it was very unremarkable until it wasn't. So it was like, you go to school and you get good grades. And I got good grades because I knew I had to get good grades, right? And went to school and got a job in the corporate world and was doing that whole dance. And it was like, learned some powerful things and met some amazing people, but like you just knew you're a fish out of water. And, I've always liked storytelling and creativity. I've always loved music and taking the camera out and sort of painting an emotive picture and doing some of these things. So like the real pivot for me was leaving the corporate world to go do X. And I always tell people, like, I didn't know what X was. I didn't know what I wanted essentially, but I knew what I didn't. And I didn't want exactly where I was. So that's like, to me, that's a big first step, to say no to something you felt like you've been building your whole life towards. So left that. And
what was it like doing that? Because I tell that story for myself all the time, leaving comfort and security to go to the unknown.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you? Like even mentally saying, okay, I could stay here and probably do pretty well.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be fulfilled here. What was that transition?
I know. It's talking about it so quick almost does a disservice to how painful it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's like, first of all, I mean, I'm just being human. Like ego is tough.
Sure.
And it's like, you feel like everyone you know is just crushing it or on this. And you're like, well, I'm going to step back and like be the guy who has a good YouTube idea or is playing, Frey cover songs at dive bars. Like, it's just, dude, it's a giant shift. And it hurt. And then the people that love you the most, in a way, like in a very strange way, make it more difficult because they only care about you. But they're saying, hey, what are you're in your boxers making videos. Like you had something really nice going on. You've worked very hard for that. Here's a resume. Here's a job application. I think you do this or that or that. And then you start posting and you go through this thing where it's like my buddies or the people that I thought would be the most supportive, it's kind of just crickets. And you're like, guys, I know it's at the time Facebook, right? But a like would mean so much. You don't want to say that though. Just keep putting Nana always tap that like button.
Everyone, every time.
But that's what it's about. And it's just this sort of, you can see why it's very easy for most people to go, no, I need normalcy. Because you have to bite that bullet for a long time.
Was there any pressure on you to join the military? I mean, sure, there was from grandfather, father.
What's crazy? Not at all.
Really?
In fact, I want to say more of the opposite.
Really?
Yeah. It was like, I don't know if like my dad just thought it wasn't conducive to my personality. Like, I don't know, but there was just, I never felt any pressure. And it was just like, what are you doing after school? And, you'd think though, you'd think there would have been, there just wasn't.
Interesting.
You know what though? I did, after high school, dabble with, like Annapolis, and, going to the Naval Academy and playing around with some of those things, but just didn't end up, I just knew it wasn't quite it. So
yeah, same with me. After high school, I knew I didn't want any more schooling.
Yeah.
And so I went into the Navy and chose one of the jobs that had the most schooling. So imagine
the way it goes, right?
But then still got my degrees, afterwards and stuff. But but I think kind of the point here is that like if you're somewhere you don't want to be, like you got to make a change, or it's never going to change.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fascinating what you said. Like it's in your world within, but your world. You kind of rely on other people for views and shares and likes and comments and influence and subscriptions and all this stuff. It's a very interesting thing. And like you said in the beginning, like even just a like from somebody, and like, starting my own business is like, like, hey, I made a shirt, like it's only $20, like, a lot of people anyone want to wear a shirt, or I have a free event, could anyone be troubled to come out on a Saturday where you're not doing anything, like,
right.
Or as simple as you just said, how about just liking something, so it's a pretty interesting world when it relies on kind of that validation from people we don't even know and people we do know.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I remember like at first calling some people out because I know they saw it. And so like, yeah. I mean, it's been 10 years. So you grow to the extent where you realize, hey, it's not personal. Everyone's living their own life. Everyone's doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. Like some probably didn't even cross their mind. Others, maybe they're worried about their own, but like whatever. But at the time, it felt like everything.
Yeah.
And when you leave stability and move into this sort of chaotic space, you're going to want that too, right? Mm-hmm. It's just natural. And it's something you have to learn, like one, to just detach, and two, to start surrounding yourself with people like you. I mean, we show up for each other, and it's like, those are the people you want in your corner. And I think it happens organically over time.
Oh, it totally does. I tell people, especially getting into business, like in the beginning, the only person that matters that has belief in you is yourself.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like you can't expect it to get it from your family or closest friends. Don't expect it actually. Like, but if you believe in you, that's really all that matters in the beginning, because you're going to be surprised. Like you said, the people you think are the biggest supporters, and it's not even that they don't like you or anything. It's just things just don't go the way you think they're going to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really interesting. So what made you then, I know you were like kind of like over that world, but what made you say like, I want to go start like inspiring people, or what was it actually? Like what made you say, this is what I'm going to go try to do?
Yeah, it's so, I don't remember the exact time frame, like in between 8 months and a year maybe. But I wanted to create music or art or something that felt like aligned. So at the time, like I've been playing guitar my whole life, singer-songwriter, and I enjoyed it. And so I just started playing shows around Boston. And it was as simple as that, trying to book as much as I could, trying to get out there, local open mics, doing some of this stuff, producing other artists, and really like learning how to record and engineer music and vocals in Pro Tools, which would be very handy 6 months down the road that I just didn't realize at the time. And so I did that for a little while. Like I said, started making homemade videos, creative writing, just doing some of this stuff. And then you have this moment, right? This is sort of the real life reflective moment where it's like, okay, bank account's dwindling, clearly, right? And so I might not have liked what I was doing 6 months ago in the corporate world, but I knew I could pay rent. And there's something very nice about that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, had this epiphany where it's like, dude, just once, you have to promise yourself that you're going to put it on the line and have your back. Just as simple, just do it for once. Have the courage to do that. And I wrote this speech called Ode to Excellence. It was a promise to myself. And it's cool because things come full circle. It combined the editing of music in Pro Tools. It combined the video editing. It combined speech writing and recording. And I made this little movie with this promise to myself, this speech. And I was so proud of it. And I had so much fun doing it. And released it on YouTube. And I'm like, there's something there. And I woke up the next day and I got an email. And it was like one email. And this guy was like, you have no idea how much I needed this. And that's when the light bulb moment came. It's like, one, it's like a natural, we all have our natural tendencies. Like I'm pretty good about observing and writing about things, whether it's music or this avenue, speech writing. I loved it. And it's helping people. And if you can help one person, you can help a million. Mm-hmm. And that's when it was like, we're on to something.
So that was the light bulb of helping people?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's great.
It was really cool, that sort of dynamic.
Is that video still up?
It is. First video on the YouTube channel.
I'm going to go watch it after this.
I'd be curious to hear what you think. Yeah, it's a throwback for sure.
Ode to Excellence.
Ode to Excellence.
So awesome. What was the channel called then? Was it called Your World Within or something else?
I did call it Your World Within right out of the gate. Okay,
so tell me, what is that? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so the idea was I was running on the Cape Cod Canal, and it was almost exactly what it sounds like. It was this epiphany where it's like, you have the power to create your own reality. I think a lot of us realize that in different ways at different times. But it was like, I don't want to say I'd never had the courage, but I'd never accepted the call. I've never stepped into the unknown like that and started realizing piece by piece, like I have the power to navigate this. And we all do. But it's just, if I didn't learn this till 26, like there are probably some people that are 50 that don't know this. You know what I'm saying? And so that's when I'm like, your world within. The internal creates the external, not the other way around. And let's start finding those little nuggets, those little things in life. Let's capture those moments and share them.
Yeah. Okay. So you get that one out, and it was a video?
Yep.
Okay. Was it, I'm assuming, a faceless video, and you're talking over it?
Yep. B-roll.
Okay. So that one email comes in. This guy, you saved his life, you changed his life, like made an impact. And at that point, did you say, okay, well, I'm going to make a living out of this. I'm going to make a giant YouTube channel, or was it still like music and maybe a little more of that? Like
I was doing them both. Yeah.
Doing both.
Yep.
Yeah.
For a while, doing them both.
And then what about from there though? Because it's like, okay, am I going to keep staying on this path of whatever was in Ode to Excellence and keep doing that? Or like, I just want to know like how this thing happened.
Yeah.
Because is what you do for people is actually kind of profound. Like you're able to inspire, you're able to motivate, you're able to pull people out of like their own darkness. We know people. Actually, you're going to meet some people next week.
No pressure.
In Sedona. that literally like, and you know this now, of course, you've been doing it a long time. You're literally changing and helping people's lives. Mm-hmm. So when that first email came in, was it, I'm going to do more of that? Or was it just like more content and just see what happens? And like, when did it finally sink in like, oh shit, I'm actually going to do this thing like at a big level?
Yeah. In a big way, not for a little bit further down the road, okay. But it was like, the format works and I love it. And so someone once told me your purpose comes from your pain. And that's truly what it was. It was find a little nugget of truth or inspiration or something and just give that out to the world, and I remember being, maybe 6 months or a year in and seeing AdSense, like YouTube pay me the first time, dollars and cents, not a lot, but it's like, oh, that's when you go, whoa. Like, I think there is something unique here and a unique path,
Yeah.
And it took a long time. It took years and years and years before I saw the exponential growth that I wanted. But I understood that it was reasonable to want that it was possible. And it was like, just hang in and do what you can until it arrives.
I made 41 cents on my blog last year.
It's a big deal. What was the blog post?
It just from the whole year.
Yeah. Not even better. I love it.
And that was in US dollars?
I remember you showing me, US dollars in Mudang coins. I remember you showed me one time, we were talking about this. You showed me the growth chart, the YouTube growth chart. And it just put so much perspective for me on just some personal stuff that I was working on. And, I laugh about that blog. I've had it since 2017 and I've posted, off and on and stuff. And it's like, but that's since 2017. So like, if I would have been really, consistent with it, it still would have taken 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years or whatever. Yeah. And you showed me the growth chart on your YouTube. And I was like, wow, it really is a hockey stick.
Yeah.
Like it really is like that. Just seeing it visually, like it's just, I was like, how did you feel right here? And I remember I asked you, I was like, how did you feel like right here? Like right in the middle of just the flat line across of whatever it was years, like what did that feel like,
Just some torture. Cause it was like, you're just like, when? And like I'd write something and I'd be like, this is so impactful. And I'd put it out there and just crickets. Mm-hmm. And you have to like, truly, it's a game of like, it's not personal. The world's not against you. Mm-hmm. Start thinking about next week's video. Just show up, could I have done it sooner if I, did things differently or put different people around me? Probably. But like, you can't think that way.
Sure. Also, it comes to, it would have helped that many people if it would have gotten in front of them, and it's like knowing what we know now about, growth tools and ad spend and all that kind of stuff. Right. It's like, okay, now I know what to do to get it in front of more people. It's like, it wasn't that it wasn't impactful. And that's the thing, the cool part about looking back on it. It's like, well, it wasn't that it wasn't impactful. It's just nobody saw it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, nobody saw it. You had a small channel or whatever. It's like those people, 20 people are seeing it or 200 people are seeing it or whatever. And it's like, well, if you're getting 200 likes on it, it's like, well, that would be 200 million likes if 200 million people saw it, probably. You know what I mean? So it's, that's the, kind of the mindset that I pulled from you showing me that was like, it's like, man, that's real. Like, you just keep going. Just keep going.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Would you kind of repost some of those then? Like, do you do that?
I did today. Yeah. So like, I still pull from some of the old stuff.
Yeah.
For sure. Some of it's just, it's the most sentimental,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all great stuff too. Like you said, like new audience, new eyeballs, new algorithms. Like, why not post your stuff again? I guess, right?
Yeah.
I think about stuff that he and I posted a couple of years ago even. I'm like, man, we should repost that. Or things that I posted. Yeah. I posted recently, this is off topic completely, but I posted recently like a video of me doing like a 500-pound single arm deadlift, and people were like, what the fuck? And I'm like, you didn't see that? And it was like 8 years ago. Of course they didn't see it.
Right.
I had like 3 followers back then. It's like, of course nobody saw that. So it's like, to your point, like, yeah, repost the stuff.
You got to. I mean, one of the I forget if we've talked about this. One of the most important things I've been told is like your audience is not a standing audience; it's a moving parade. So like,
wow,
right? It's like that's the epiphany. If you look at like TikTok is a random platform where 80% of my audience is from probably 4 reels that I repost once a week. And no one cares. They just continuously get traction. It's like, well, if it's adding value, why wouldn't you throw it out there?
Yeah.
So,
that's a good point.
All right. So what is it like being like what do you want to call it? A social media phenomenon or whatever. Right?
Wow.
Like,
that's nice.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people, when they think,
inject that into my veins.
Yeah. When they think of Eddie Pinero, or they think of like these big YouTube and TikTok stars and stuff, they get a perception. And it's probably wrong. People would probably assume now you just live behind a camera and, and you're just, that's your whole life and you're there and you do that. But like, what is it like? Like, cause you're a regular guy. I've been to your house. We've worked out together and stuff, but then that's your business, but it's also you. So like, what is it really like in your words, like doing this kind of work?
I really like it because it's just a quiet space to create. That's like where I feel just the most empowered, and it's just a blast. Like I enjoy writing and, kind of highlighting the things that matter the most. I mean, to your point, it is a fraction of my life. And so there's just so much that like, I mean, every girl I've ever dated has been like, this is just like a part of like, add this and your goofiness and all this stuff. And I'm like, you're not wrong, right? I got to find a way to integrate that in, but I don't know. It's very segmented, it's like, yeah.
But it works. I mean, it's almost like your niche of your life for this moment, cause like you said, you're a really funny dude,
Thanks.
like you got
you guys are great for hyping up the
But people might not know that if they only watch your YouTube videos because, they're very good at what they are and what they do. So,
right.
But there's so much more to it. But I think it's also just fascinating. Like, everybody does all these different things for work. Some people have a career. Some people do coaching. Some people are investors. But then some people like you put this stuff out online and people get this perception like that's all he does.
Yeah, there's so much behind the scenes, and it's fun, like the pre-creation too, because like everything can become a movie. Like life is just sort of connecting dots between something that happened in the message or a metaphor in the story.
Yeah,
and so getting that out there, and I'm lucky now. I surround myself because I used to just, like I said, do all the editing and stuff myself, but have some help now, and I've been very intentional about having a small team, but a very badass, supportive, creative, insightful team. And that's a whole new element where it's like brainstorm ideas and spitball things back and forth. And it's fun. It's fun cool. Because the upside is infinite. Yeah. Like I think that's the beauty of something like this. It's like there's potential downside in that who knows what's going to happen or how's it going to be received, or if you don't work, nothing gets put out. But the upside is just goes as far as your mind can. And that's really exciting.
I've been writing a lot more recently. It's one of my, I guess you call it New Year's resolutions. And I noticed that something you said in the beginning of that was that everything could be a movie.
Yeah.
And I noticed that whenever I write about a topic, I'll get a paragraph in. I'm like, fuck, this could be a book, but I don't want to write a book about this, but it could be like, this could be a whole thing. And I've noticed myself like kind of almost stalling out on it. Cause I'm like, fuck, like it should be a book. You know what I mean? How am I going to put that much information into I guess you could say I write essays.
Yeah.
I was looking up I'm like, I don't know. It's not like a blog post. It's like an essay, I guess. So I've been writing essays and I'm like, fuck, that could be a book and that could be a book. So I actually submitted one of my essays to a handful of magazines and a bunch of places actually recently. And I'm actually going to read one at the retreat that is
cool,
that we talked about.
Yeah.
And it's pretty, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, man, I know this is impactful. Like I know this is going to hit hard, and it might not. It might just be like, you know, people
Zero
look around
likes.
and be like, what the fuck? You know, whatever.
I can't wait
but
to hear it, man. If it's meaningful, you know, that's the, I mean, if it connects to you, then it will, that's enough. I think one of the cool things about writing is like you're forced to think and compartmentalize thoughts in ways that you wouldn't if you weren't writing.
Yeah.
It's like you learn about yourself and discover yourself as you're just.
I think that's another reason why your channel specifically is going to continue to exponentially grow, especially with the AI crap coming out and like all this regurgitated, like, you know, the same voice and it's the same voice and, you know, all this stuff. And it's like, people are starving for something that's real, even if they don't know it, you know, even if they don't know that they're starving for something that's real, and they hear your thing and you're like, man, I just resonate with that a little bit more. And it's because it's a real person talking about something real that either they experienced or their friend experienced or whatever. When you told a part of my story on your channel, I was blown away. I was like, I've never heard it told back to me before. And I still listen to that every once in a while. I'm like, man, that, you know, so hearing from a real person is going to be very rare soon.
It's crazy.
And I think that the exponential growth that's going to happen, you know, is going to be insane, because everybody getting into the space now they're just trying to regurgitate the same type of AI stuff out. And they're just like, write an inspirational fucking thing and and make it viral. And it's like,
the shift is real. I mean, because I actually wrote, I mentioned Ode to Excellence. I've done different parts. So Ode to Excellence part 2, part 3, part 4, just sort of sprinkled throughout. And it's like a different epiphany depending on where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I just released the 4th one. And the idea is essentially exactly what you're saying. It's like I've spent a lot of time, like a lot of us do, trying to be polished and professional and come across sharp. But now I think for me personally, and also just because of the way things are trending, like they coincide beautifully, try being unpolished because that's harder.
Yeah.
You know, try showing up raw.
Yeah.
And rolling out of bed and turning the camera on, doing some of these things. So like, yeah, it's like as you go through this journey, the path, changes.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question about your creative process, because maybe I'll play this for you later. I went on a walk this morning and I recorded probably about a 5-minute memo kind of to myself. I wasn't sure who I was ever going to show it to. I was thinking maybe Andy White. I didn't even think about us doing this podcast today when I recorded it. But now that we're here talking, I'm like, oh shit, Eddie's probably the one I need to show this to.
Let's go.
Because essentially it was this. I was walking and I was thinking about what we do. You know, we do a lot of coaching for personal development, for fitness and mindset and stuff like that. And I was thinking about how we talk a lot. We do at least 1 hour live call every week. I speak at events. I just emceed and hosted an event on the 3rd. You know, we do podcast a lot. We're always talking with our clients and coaching, and I have a lot in my head. And in the moment, like I can go forever and just talk and help, and I can listen and I can analyze and do the thing, you know? But then when it comes down to marketing and social media, sometimes I feel like my brain just gets twisted into a knot and I can't think of anything to put out. And then I'll see somebody will put out something so simple, like a little 1-sentence thing. And I'll be like, yeah, I've said that 100 times. That's like one of my things, but I've never actually typed and put that out on Facebook. Yeah. I've never actually made that into a reel. And so sometimes I'm like, this is what's in the memo. I'm like, how does somebody go from having so many great thoughts and ideas in your head about various topics and different avenues you want to take, and you want people to hear these things, and distilling it down into, these are the 10 words I'm putting out today.
Yeah.
Or this is the one niche thought I'm going to put out over this thing that was actually an essay. Because that is my biggest struggle, is deciding what to put out on social, because I feel like I'm saying this stuff all the time, but a lot of the times it's to a captive audience in a coaching group or at an event or on a podcast. And I find that I'm not putting it out on social.
First of all, it's normal. It's a very real thing. So I forget if it was Twain. I don't know if you guys have heard, like, he wrote this letter and he's like, sorry, it's so long, I didn't have time to make it shorter. Like, it's hard to do that.
That's great.
Robin Sharma talks about killing your darlings when you're writing a book, because like, you don't want to let go of these pieces because they're raw and real to you, but the audience doesn't need them. And so, I mean, simplicity is challenging. And I think part of it is like, personally, I can speak to sort of the nature of writing for 3-minute songs, which were for years 3-minute videos before they became 3-hour videos. So like, you sort of tune your brain to think that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not an easy thing.
No, it's really not. And I think this is where most people struggle. It's like, what do I put out? That's where it starts. And then when you decide, okay, I'm going to put out this topic, like he said, shit, this is an essay in my head.
Yeah.
How do I get this down to a 30-second reel? Or how do I get this down to, 30 words or 20 words on Instagram or Facebook or something?
That's the original reason why I started a blog. Was the first time I wrote on my blog, I was like, I don't have anywhere to put this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to put this on Facebook. Nobody's going to read it. I'm not going to make a video, like, just write an essay. And that's
so do
why
you have like a running list of like topics you want to do someday, or is this all kind of spur of the moment? Do you build up, like topics like we do with podcasts and then release? Like, how does this work for you?
Probably the same way. Like, I just have a list of things that I learn or come across, or things that were W's or L's, or made me happy or not, or songs or books, or, just because you don't need a lot. You just need one little piece to expound upon. And
I think you might have said it in the beginning. I probably need to get quiet and like actually think about it a little bit. In
terms of like what's important.
Yeah. Because when it comes down to like what I'm going to create online, like there's so much happening all the time. There's always, there's distractions galore.
Yeah.
So sometimes I don't think I'm making enough space to even consider what I want to put out. So nothing comes out.
Have you read Deep Work by Cal Newport?
Mm-mm.
That's one of those books that's just life-changing. There's probably 2 or 3 that I think are like, and it teaches you how to shut all that stuff out and do what matters in blocks,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll grab that.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, cool. So you're going through your day and then the years, the channel's growing, you're doing your thing, but now you're speaking, you're doing all these things. One of the questions I've always wanted to ask you as I get to know you more is like, how are you, Eddie Pinero, personally growing and developing and evolving while you're helping other people develop and grow and evolve?
Yeah, I mean, it goes through seasons. And so I want to say last year, moving to Scottsdale was one of the most important years of my life, maybe the most important year of my life. Met some amazing people, said yes to a lot, which was important. But I think I learned that I need to say no to more. And so growth, depending on where you are, it's always going to look like something different. To me, it's understanding, who are you? Where are you going? What do you love to do? What's your value add? And do that, right? So like, one of the things that's so enticing about Scottsdale is the community, right? And I find myself in all these masterminds, with amazing, brilliant, business-minded people. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I feel like a fish out of water here. Not because I'm better or anything but just different, And I'm like, in the sense of, you can't negate business. Like, things have to grow, obviously, but I just don't care. Like, I want people around me that can do, like, I just want to make things that matter.
Yeah.
And I'm always in these circles, like, pretending to give a shit about this stuff. And I'm like, I don't care. And so like, pushing a lot of it out was like beautiful and clarifying. And I feel like, so to answer your question, the last 12 months, it's like understanding exactly what matters, and where I hit the ball out of the park and going all in on that.
Yeah, 2024, some people will say, especially this last event we were just at, was the year of essentially getting rid of things that should not be in your life. With people, partnerships, whatever it may be, things you spend your time on, habits even. And when she said that, Katie said that at the event I emceed the other day, I was like, well, man, that was certainly true for us, you know, and you could see it, the people in the audience, like that was like kind of like a universal truth almost. Like 2024 was one of those years, it seems, where it was, okay, what is actually going to be in my life? Who's actually going to be in my life? And if it's not aligned the right way, like it doesn't mean I don't like it anymore, but I just need to get really dialed in on what I want to focus on,
especially because anyone can say no to bad things. But say no to good things. Say no to opportunities with, sharp people or things that have potential or, it's like, that's why you really have to take that sort of quiet time to understand what your North Star is, because it really simplifies things. If it deviates from that, it's a no. Yeah. And that's the challenge.
Let me tell you the second.
Yeah. Oh, man, so hard.
Let me tell you the second piece about that for 2025, because I want to get your thoughts on it. She said, essentially this year, don't let your eyes be distracted. Instead, focus them on what is important to your soul. She didn't say your business or your checklist or anything, but focus your attention and your eyes on what's important to your soul. And I feel that's probably going to resonate with you and what you put out, because so much of the stuff you put out, I think that's where it hits people. It's not necessarily, like you said, business motivated or like a lot of it. I mean, you can use to go work out and run and stuff, but a lot of it, I think, hits people deeper. It hits them kind of in that soul. So I think for this year, I think that's, if a lot of people can look at that, probably going to have a good year.
I love that, man.
I think she specifically used a couple of terms. She used soul clarity and she used look within, which is kind of perfect, right? Your world within.
Lawsuits underway.
Lawsuits underway. Yep. Call the lawyers.
Yeah. I mean, it's to me, that's everything, because without alignment, you're not doing your best work. You're not doing the things that mean the most. And I'm human. I've made that mistake countless. I'll make it again. I mean, there's no question. It just, you relearn lessons in different contexts, but it's like, you can tell when you sort of fall into this routine of doing because you feel like you're supposed to, or doing because you did it yesterday, or you spent and things become automated and routine, and you can get by. But if excellence is the goal, or greatness is the goal, if true contentment and a meaningful life is the goal, you have to do the things that light you up. Otherwise, you can't manufacture enthusiasm. It's just too hard. So like, that's why it matters. And I could look back, and thankfully there's not many, but like, I've released things where I listen to that now, I'm like, I could tell like my heart was not fully in that missed the mark a little bit. And so, so much of what I do, it probably would have been great to answer earlier. Like a lot of my work is, pen to paper, taking the camera out, creating, storytelling. But a lot of it is like keeping myself inspired, which sounds cliche, but the inputs become the outputs. And there's no way I can be just sort of, ho-hum, like whatever, and put things out that are going to help other people. That doesn't work that way.
That's true.
So yeah, it's a lot of juggling both.
I'm sure you see that on the metrics too, now that you have so much content out. Can you see like the ones that you go, I kind of missed the mark on that one? And can you see that in the viewership, the likes, and like, can you visually see it? Or
sometimes the YouTube algorithm is just a black box. Weird. Yeah. It's just, all I know is if it's longer, they'll share it more. But like in terms of like audience impact, it's hard to sift through. I think one of the reasons is because so many viewers on every video are new. Like they, they haven't seen the stuff before. But you can gauge, like, if you tell a story or have a metaphor that really hits, people let you know in the comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think that deep as you're creating content? Are you thinking about the people that are watching it, or is this like what you are thinking about and you're just strictly putting that out?
So it starts with me, and like, does it has to mean something to me, or but then there are times where I'll listen to it back and I'm like, that's too cryptic. Like someone who doesn't know me is not going to get anything from this. And so sometimes I'll adjust that way. Yeah. But yeah, it all starts from a place of like lived experience.
And do you have any like kind of spirituality wrapped into it, or do you get down with all that kind of stuff, or
beyond meditation, not a lot.
Do a lot of meditation?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I used to do it running long distances, right? And so
Yeah.
now it's like you got to create a little pocket of space. So it's different now in how I do it. Find my quiet time, solitude on the porch for 10 or 15 minutes.
Sure.
But yeah, that's
And are you still running like crazy now?
no.
I don't think so.
No
My
way.
nickname for you is Eddie Jacked Pinero.
Coach
now.
Adam says that's a no-go.
Enough running.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've made a big physical transformation since we've known you.
Yeah. You guys have been a huge, huge part of that.
But how is it affecting you? Like, what has that done for you? This is one of my favorite things to hear from people.
Oh, it just mentally, physically, it's amazing. I think the biggest thing is limiting beliefs. So before I moved to Scottsdale and linked up with you guys, I told myself that you're a runner. And that's what you'll be. Every time I lifted weights, I got injured. Not like, a little bit, like immediately. so like I would link up with people. I'd try different things. I was doing like, different classes. Just, I wanted to get bigger, but convinced myself that like my shoulders wouldn't have it. That's just the way it goes.
I remember we had that conversation.
Yeah. It was one of the first, that might be the first combo we had. And then it came down to like, well, you cannot lift and get fat, or you could run 10 miles a day and be thin. So let's run every day. So like, that's how that worked. And it was therapy. I mean, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. But it just feels like this, it makes you ask how many areas of life you're telling yourself stories that are just non-existent, right? Because does it take work? Yeah. I mean, I have to stretch every day, do mobility stuff. I'm getting body work done, by our buddy twice a week, and a lot of stuff just to maintain hot sauna, cold plunge, but it's doable. And so like teaching myself that it's doable has been incredible.
Yeah, my friend and mentor, Sean Whalen, always says you can rewrite your own story at any time. And he's doing it all the time. Like, he was scared of snakes forever. And so one time he's like, fuck it, I'm going to buy a snake. He had to get over
one way
it.
to do it. Yeah.
That's one way to do it. Yep.
Good for him.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to understand that we can always rewrite our stories. And it's usually the stories that are there. We're the only ones that are keeping them there. We're the only ones saying that I'm a runner and I'm going to be a runner. I can't lift weights. My shoulder's going to break. My shoulder hurts or whatever. It's like, no, that's just you.
Yeah.
And
that was my response to you when you said, I'm a runner. I said, no, you're not.
Yeah. You're like, don't say that.
He's like, what do you mean?
No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not a runner. What do you mean?
Yeah. Weighed like 9 pounds. You brought this piece in too, which I thought was super incredible. You're like, you're not special because you have shoulder injuries. Like, it doesn't have to be that complex. Like, there's an answer, or you just haven't found it. And it's like, yeah, because when something's brought you so much pain, you assume that the solution's rocket science, not doing a few simple things consistently every day, which is what the answer is.
Yeah.
So it was just like a total mental shift.
I think it's really cool just to know that like the guy that puts out your kind of content is also like a savage in the gym. I think that's cool because if you think a lot of the like kind of classic creatives, the writers and stuff like that, in my mind, I always think kind of a fat guy, cigarettes, surrounded by booze, just kind of just writing, like all he has really going on is his brain and he's not taking care of himself, but you're the opposite of that.
Yeah.
You take great care of yourself and still put out that kind of work.
Try to be, man. Try to be. Yeah. That's one of the things that, in college, that was the biggest W for me, was being on the rowing team and just learning to use suffering as a tool. Because it was the same, like in a way, like a similar inflection point to meeting you guys, where it was, thinking that I'd worked hard or I knew what hard work was. Then you get on a rowing machine in a D1 club. It's like, no, you don't understand suffering. Right. Yeah. And by the way, you can suffer and still lose.
Right.
And you're like, what? So it's like you take that mentality with you to everything you do. Like, these are the different chapters of life,
Speaking of kind of that suffering mentality when it comes to fitness and discipline and motivation, like, what are your thoughts on like your content compared to like the super alpha David Goggins type stuff? Because I wonder how much crossover there is of people. Because like me, I listen to both.
Yeah.
But I have to be in the right state of mind to like the Goggins stuff. I have to be in the right state of mind to accept your kind of stuff. It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think there's a time and place. I love Goggins and the ETs of the world when I need it. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is, I bet no one would notice this other than me, kind of going back and kind of analyzing my own growth. But if I look at the first 3 years of my stuff, it's way more intense. It's way more just, hey, go do it, figure it out, get up, go. You're tired, move anyway. And that's because that's what I needed at the time, more than anything. And, as you grow and evolve, like there are times where I do, but I think I get more personally from delving into things philosophically and understanding why and, connecting those dots emotively.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been seasonal, but to answer your question, like 100% dependent on what you're going through,
I think there's a difference. For me personally, there's a difference between motivational content and inspirational content. You, I would say, put out inspirational content. Motivational content would be the ETs and the Gogginses and these guys, right? We actually met ET, Eric Thomas, and what was it, JC Penney or a Macy's or something one time. It was cool. But he was super nice too. But I think the difference is that motivational stuff will get you to maybe take action right then, but inspiration will make you motivated. Inspiration will give you the intrinsic kind of motivation where it's like, okay, I need to do this for me, not because Goggins is telling me to, or because Eric Thomas is telling me to, or because whoever is telling me to. I need to do it because I know I should. And I think that's the difference. And I think that's, because I could listen to, if I wanted to go on the stair stepper, right, which is the bane of my existence, but all right, I'm going to put on fucking Eric Thomas because I need him to tell me that don't stop because, whatever, all the stuff that he says. But if I'm, feeling a certain point where I need to make a big shift or a big change, I would put on something of yours because it's like, okay, this is going to move like Justin was saying, this is going to move my soul. Like motivation will move my body. I need this to move my soul.
It's incredible to hear you put it that way. It really is. And I think that's right. Like there are times like when you're running, when you need to just be told to not be a bitch. It's like, find a gear. And it's like, okay, but then it's like, you can also unpack it, like run faster. Why? Because you're capable. And what a tragedy to leave that on the shelf. And by the way, when you train your mind to do it, when your body says no, that carries into your personal life and it carries into work. And so running faster is not just to not be a bitch. It's to level up all aspects of your world.
I think you just hit it right there where I'll refine what I said. Motivation is, move. And then inspiration is why. And I think more people need the why. I think people seek out the motivation because they think it's like, they feel the flow state and the hype and it's like, yeah, fucking Goggins, run till your feet bleed kind of thing. And then, but it's like what they really need is the why. And explaining it like that, I mean, you just did that live for us right here. Eddie Pinero just gave us a live version of, hey, don't be a bitch. And then you turned it into, I don't even know if you realized that you did it, but you turned don't be a bitch and keep running into, oh shit. No. Like it hit me when you said that. I was like, oh no, yeah, I need to go a little bit faster when I run. Yeah, damn. Okay.
I think it just brought a little clarity to my earlier question about my own personal content as well, because like the motivational type stuff, and it's not a knock against this kind of content or those guys, but it's a little bit more shallow because it's just like, it's right there. It's fast, it's kind of snap, right? Yeah. I've been pulled recently. I can feel like just to go a little deeper content, but that's usually slower and quieter. And I'm not really sure how to like push that into the space that I'm in, I think that's actually one of the conflicts that's been in my head is like, I have a lot deeper thoughts that is not just like quick to the camera, like get after it type stuff. So that's something I need to unpack a bit.
Yeah. Or even the idea that there's dissonance or that it doesn't go with your brand. Because I think one of the amazing things about knowing you both, and I assume anyone who knows you would agree, is like you can be beasts and you can roll around in the mud, but also very thoughtful and what's the word? Like meticulous in how you do things. Almost like, warrior poets. I mean, it's,
Man,
you know,
inject me with that, Eddie.
right. And so like, I don't see them as different. And that is one of the things with like the masculinity thing, that anytime there's a lack of something and the pendulum swings back, it always swings back a little harder than it should.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yes, masculinity is toughness and alpha and showing, but it's also the other piece.
Yeah.
You know, it's being able to be calm when you need to and tell a story and inspire when you need to. So
that's kind of part of the essay that I wrote for the retreat has that type of, you know,
yin and yang
to it too. And you'll see when we,
yeah.
I would actually love for you to look over that before I give that, but I also want you to just see it raw and live. So I'm going to think about that.
Yeah, let me know. I'm happy to.
I'm glad you brought up masculinity, because I have a book here for you called The Way of Men. I think you might have you read this?
Yeah.
I think you've read that by our friend Jack Donovan. But I think about that a lot, and I give that to every guest that comes on the podcast, because masculinity is such an interesting topic, because we think it's the over the top, the alpha, the guns, the motivation and stuff like that. But man, I really think it's probably even more of the deeper content, the well thought out ideas, the trials and tribulations that are turned into lessons for other people, that it can be spoken with confidence and clarity. You know, I think it's even more of that. And sure, definitely still be a warrior, still be a badass, still be strong, still be fast and all that stuff. But at least in my head, in the mind, it's like, no, if you can get across these deeper things, that's really how you can help inspire people instead of just quickly motivate them.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up. We'll find more ways to unpack that, you know, as we go forward. But like, what's the guy's name with the big beard?
Dry Creek Dwayne. I was just about to bring him up. Yep. Dry Creek Dwayne.
I'll send you a reel afterwards. He's been on Chris Willicks and all the people recently. Big bearded dude. He owns like a ranch and stuff. But you can just see like the dude's brain is just like an encyclopedia of wisdom. And he's talking so deeply to your soul. And I'm like, that's just as man as the freaking Navy SEAL MMA guy that's freaking running around. You know
he said it on Chris Williamson's podcast, and I was going to bring that up.
Chris Willicks?
Williamson, yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And he said he was talking about what a man really is, and he goes, it's really balance. He goes, a masculine man is a balanced man. And the way that I can't remember exactly how he described it, but the way that he described it was so much better than all the cliche ways people describe it. You have a warrior poet and gardener and a fucking warrior in a garden and all that stuff, right? And the way that he described it was like, it was, I'll send you the clip after this, but the way he described it and the way that he put that out was just, and you could tell that he knew that only because he used to not be that. And he used to be one way or the other. And it was like, and you could tell that it was true, like wisdom. And like Justin said, it's true. It's lived experience. Right. So.
Yeah.
What would you tell people that are still kind of like on the fence about having their own personal brand, you know, going into 2025? Like we talked, he actually nailed one of my points earlier that you guys talked enough about was, it's so easy these days to just like have a brand generated for yourself. You know, like you can have all the ideas, you can have the voice, you can have the B-roll, you can have all this stuff, but like how important is it from your perspective to actually take it seriously?
I think it's everything. I really do. For a few reasons. I mean, one is the story you were just talking about, the dude, talking about masculinity now from a standpoint that he didn't before, because he lived it and put himself out there and had the courage to kind of talk people through it. That means a lot. You know, if his same messages came through in PDF format and bullets, it would mean nothing. But because you can look at a human who transcended that, that means a lot. And then pragmatically speaking, I think it's going to differentiate between AI and people. You know, I mean, to be able to be human and hand down a story and have that connection, robots can't do that. So
not yet.
Yeah, I know. Knock on wood. So yeah, I think it's critical and becoming more critical.
Yeah, and you said something earlier. Make sure like you're not just stuck in this zone of perfection too. Like not everything has to be polished.
Yeah.
Some of the most viral videos were just shot literally, like you said, rolling out of bed or by accident in the car,
Yeah.
So I think people just do need to start, and they do need to just do it. Because I was talking to a guy the other day, shout out to Keely Bell. I was talking with him the other day, and he was just like, man, I don't know what we were talking about content. And I was like, dude, I told him what we were talking about here. Like, just tell people what you are going through. Like, just share what you're doing, because he just had a big business deal like that he just, kind of went through in the past couple months. He's been married a long time to a great woman, Tara. They got a lot going on. Just share it, because he was kind of like, well, what do I put out? And he's a great coach. He's a great dude. But people don't realize that their regular everyday lives, for the most part, what they're going through is actually pretty interesting to other people.
Yeah.
Like, reality TV is still a thing, and it's not that you have to share all your drama and stuff, but like, you don't really have to overthink it, come up with the most perfect Eddie Pinero, video. Just put out what you're going through.
Yeah. I mean, your story is your superpower.
Yeah.
I'm dabbling with a book, and I'm not sure if now is the time, but I was talking to a coach, like a book proposal coach. And one of the things he said that I thought was incredible is earning the tell. Like, you earn your audience trust when you can walk them through where you learned it and what you expect. Like, it is the difference, So.
I mean, that's a great point. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's true. Cause I can see that. Cause I think that's kind of how I try to validate myself sometimes. It's like, well, here's what I've done and here's how I got here. This is why you should listen to me.
Right.
Yeah. It does make sense. You kind of earn the right to get people's attention and get their ear.
And through reps too. I mean, this sort of goes into what you're talking about with, having ideas and how short do they need to be and how do we do this? And maybe there's a little bit of hesitation. It ties into everything. But one of the most important things you can do is just release and immediately depersonalize. So you get in you establish this mindset of like detaching from results. Not ignorance. I mean, you're looking at the end of X number of days, what worked, what doesn't. Are we trending up? You're not going in blind. But on the day to day, it's a fool's errand to be releasing something and microanalyzing. It's like, no, this meant something. Create, remove. And what you find is, whether it's reels or long form, just like marble, you're kind of chiseling away without knowing it, right? You're chiseling away at what works best for you, your voice, how you're most effective, what's your audience listening to and liking the most. I've been writing speeches for 10 years. I don't write now exactly the same way I did back then. And it wasn't conscious, a lot of it. It was just refine.
Yeah. That's very good. So you said you're writing a book.
Thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's funny because, I mean, when you've written 1,000 speeches, I mean, I have a book theoretically on YouTube.
Sure.
But it's just, for me, it's the sort of the practical piece. And is now the right time? Or, there's so many things. I'm refining the live. I'm not even calling it a keynote anymore. I'm calling it a performance. So lots going into that, and there'll be a time for it. I'm just not sure if it's now.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting, because you could probably just take AI and be like, "Hey, write me a 200-page book out of everything that I've said on YouTube."
I know,
but that's not too.
I just feel like I can't.
That's not you though. If you decide to do that, I'm not going to hold it against you. But.
If anything, I mean, you could release it as a compilation of essays or something like that, but it wouldn't be what you want. I know exactly what you're thinking, that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I want to write the book, right?
But that may be the limiting thing, right? Because it's like, in my brain, I'm like, it's the first book. Like, it has to be, Maybe I'm getting in my own way there. I don't know. I'll have to report back.
A couple other questions for you.
Yeah.
What does it mean, like, with the sign I have behind you? Like, what does that word earn mean to you? What does it mean to earn it all?
That life owes you nothing. So it's a microcosm of the idea that you can suffer and still not win. And it's not personal. It's just the way the world works. So a really cool story that matches this, I think, nicely is I left. We talked about leaving the corporate world, creating this little album, 7 songs, absolute garbage. I mean, it was my first album. Of course it is, right? It's just acoustic stuff, just trash. But I spent months on this thing, right? It's the most I'd ever put on a project, and marketed it, brought it to every radio station, college radio station, bar, no one cared. And that was my first real, like, it's like the world does not, like, it doesn't matter. And so you come to these points where you can take that personally and go do something easier, or you can get back up and rise to the occasion. And so when I think of earning it all, I think of not taking life's curveballs as an indictment or referendum against you, but as an opportunity to level up. I mean, that's the sort of crossroads we're always at.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. You know, there's no defined path or end goal or anything that you're necessarily entitled to. It's just the opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's all I really want. I want the opportunity. I don't want the outcome. You know, when people say like equal opportunity, no, it should be equal outcome. Like, no, hell no. It's equal opportunity. Then what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
How are you actually going to apply it? And what are you going to make out of it? You know, what are you actually going to earn? Then you get to enjoy it.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So any more music?
So I'm injecting a little bit into, I have something booked for a few months from now. So,
Okay.
And this is going to be my first time rolling it out in Kelowna, Canada, but it's deviating from my usual keynote to a guitar or a loop pedal and incorporating some of that stuff into the storytelling and the inspiration.
Oh man, we're coming.
Any video?
We're going to go.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Is there a video with that, or is it you talking and playing, or is it?
So what I have right now, and it's sort of a kind of arranging pieces, but like if you take so let's say I tell you a story and it's 2 minutes,
Yeah.
and it's a great story, it'll connect. You'll remember it. If I do just 4 chords, loop it, put the guitar down, and those 4 chords are looping, and I tell you the same story over the music, the difference is like,
that's insane.
it's hard to even grasp.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of trying to establish that. And then I'm thinking if it works, this is one of these things where it's like a comedian testing his stuff. It might bomb, but it may be awesome. Who knows? Injecting 3 or 4 songs into the presentation or into the experience, I think could be cool if done well.
I think that is super cool. And I can see you just got so animated talking about that.
Yeah, because it's exciting to me. You know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I played music basically every day until I joined the Navy, and then I kind of went cold turkey. I've been like kind of aching for it myself. Like, I don't necessarily want to pick up. I play trumpet. I don't necessarily want to like play that again. I don't think, but I do really love music. Like I'm obsessed with like what Hans Zimmer puts out and the way he puts it out through his movies. Like he kind of invented, if you guys don't know Hans Zimmer, anybody listening, like, dude, he basically invented, you know, like when you're watching a movie, they'd have like these big crazy soundtrack, you know, and they'd have all these special effects and all this stuff. And so if there was a scene for like 7 minutes where like where soldiers were going through the jungle, they'd have all these sound effects going off, you know, or whatever, or maybe like a certain song for that hike through the jungle. He now takes like the main theme song and will extrapolate a little tiny chord or 2 out of it and then pull that through the jungle. So you're hearing the same kind of theme and the same chords going throughout the whole movie. I just think it makes, like you said, telling that story, it's completely different. It's not just generic, like spooky music because we're walking through a jungle. It's like, wait a minute, I heard that in the beginning. I heard that as there's more action. In this quiet part now, I'm hearing something that's also from that song, and it just completely immerses you in a different way, you know?
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Oh, dude, it's so cool. The one I was talking about specifically was the Thin Red Line, I think is where the first one he did, that movie. He takes a certain chord or 2 from the main theme song and pulls that through the suspense scene of them walking through the jungle with their weapons instead of just some generic, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But then, you know, he's done Interstellar and Gladiator and Batman and all these. Oh, dude, Dune.
Best. Yeah.
I just watched Dune 2 last night. Freaking unbelievable cinematic movie.
I haven't seen 1 or 2.
Dude, I would say watch Dune 1, then Dune 2, and then Dune 1 again. The story is way deeper than people realize. It's a super cool story.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So anyways, last couple minutes here. You're a man of many quotes. A lot of them are longer than just a quote, but do you have a favorite quote or 2 that you kind of think about on a regular basis?
Oh man, I have a whole arsenal of quotes.
I bet. It's like, let me pull out my notebook here.
Yeah. So, well, one of them is Nietzsche that I scream from the mountaintops.
Yeah.
Those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who couldn't hear the music.
Dude,
very simple
one of my
reminder.
favorite ones too.
What's that?
One of my favorite ones also. It's insane.
It's powerful. Sometimes the ending you didn't think you wanted, opens the door that, you didn't know you needed. The idea that some of the worst things in life push us, or perceived worst things, push us into our greatness and evolution. I could go on forever, but
yeah, dude, that first one you said from Nietzsche about people that can't hear the music, see people dancing and they think they're crazy. I heard that a long time ago, and I apply that to a lot of what I see in social media, or a lot of what I just see in culture. Like people just, lashing out at other people and just thinking that people are dumb or they're uninformed or whatever. It's like, no, you just don't hear the music that they're hearing. You just don't understand what they're experiencing, and you're just lashing out because you don't understand.
That's it, man. And for one reason or another, when people talk about that sort of piece of things, like when you're doing something new and it's hard, people will talk about, the unknown and, uncertainty, whatever. For some reason, we don't talk about the fact that like you just feel like a loser. I don't know if it's because like the ego, it's like tough to say that, or we don't want to acknowledge that, but it's like harder on the ego than anything else because your brain wants to fall in line. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be the one out here on the ledge that could fall in front of everybody. And so really, really honing in and understanding it's just the cost of admission. If it's that uncomfortable, you don't have to do it, but then you do not get the greatness on the other side, and that's like the beautiful trade-off, if you will.
I love how you said that. That's my favorite part about the word earn. It's like you earn whatever results you have, period. Yeah. And if you are not willing to do X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3 to get a Rolls Royce, if that's what you want, then you don't get the opportunity. You shouldn't get the opportunity to bitch about people that have Rolls Royces. Yeah. You didn't earn it.
Right.
But that goes to everything. That goes to like, if you want a six pack, if someone is hating on people that are walking around with like you, like looking ripped and like in great health and in great shape, and they're talking shit about you because they refuse to put down the McDonald's. It's like, well, dude, your opinion's invalid.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. You haven't earned the right to criticize. You know what I mean?
I like when people talk on that same note, when somebody talks shit about somebody who has a trust fund. And I'm like, oh, you mean my family was responsible and successful for generations before me, and that's what I have to like, oh, okay. Like, what are you going to talk trash about somebody who has a trust fund? I don't have a trust fund, but wish I had a trust fund. I wish my family had been right. It would be a real treat. Yeah. When you turn 26 or whatever. And it's like because I used to look negatively on the trust fund kind of thing. And there's like this trope about trust fund baby or whatever. And it's like, hold on a second. You mean my family was successful and responsible and they made an impact for a couple of generations before me, and I'm going to be the fucking idiot that fucks it up? Like, no.
Yeah. Hey. Coming at success from any angle is always negative because it always disempowers you. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at what other people have done well, the one thing you can control is what's in front of you, and to project out and point just hurts you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that I will say, when you talk about trust fund babies, I do feel bad because when you're talking about earning it all, mm-hmm. it's like a lot of, through no fault of their own, and I'm generalizing, but like that fight and that battle through to become something and earn something and be stable and do all the, like, it makes you. And when you're handed, millions of bucks right out of the gate, enjoy it. Yeah, God bless your soul. But yeah, you gotta find a different way to sort of create that hunger,
100%. That's why I think a lot of people lose it and they turn to drugs, or they get, they ruin their bodies, they ruin their lives and stuff because they did not earn it. They were just handed it to them, and they spend it on shit that they think is going to make them happy, but they haven't done the work to become the person to deserve all that money. Mm-hmm. And I think in the back of their head, a lot of them probably know that. This is not everybody. Like you said, we're generalizing. I'm sure there's a lot of trust fund babies that take that and then they go and do stuff with it, and they build their own legacies with it, so it doesn't apply to everybody.
There's what is it? 3 generations It's like your great grandfather made the money, your grandfather kept the money, and you lost the money.
Oh my God.
What a disaster.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Plays out.
Disaster.
Yeah, that's like the cycle of generational wealth is like 3 generations.
All right. So one more question for you.
Hit me.
Thinking about that first guy that wrote you the email that said, Eddie, this came at the right time. You changed my life. Thank you. What would you say to somebody out there that is listening, that watches you on YouTube, that is struggling with something right now? Maybe something with their mind, maybe something with their soul, but maybe something completely different. Like, what would you say to them? And then also, why is the Mudang your favorite animal?
Most importantly.
Yeah.
So with the first one, I would revert back to our previous conversation where it's like, just because the pain is complex doesn't mean the solution has to be. And a lot of the times, the thing that's going to change your life is right there, and it's very accessible and very manageable. W. Clement Stone calls it little hinges that swing big doors. Like, there are little things in your life that will change everything. For me, I love giving this example because it's not like sort of correlated. It's 100% the morning. When I get up at 5:30 and I do my morning routine and I just feel on top of the world, and I take that momentum throughout the entire day. Mm-hmm. If I don't do that, I feel sluggish and I feel slow and not as good, and that evolves. And so, be your own experiment. Find those tiny little things that create momentum, make you happy, make you feel powerful. Delve into them. The answers are there.
Yeah.
And Mudang. So Mudang has, so like I said, these guys are huge pillars in my life, particularly in the health and fitness space. And so, every time I finish a workout and I hit complete, it'll let me know how many animals I lifted. And every once in a while, and I just hope every day I screenshot it and I send it around when it happens. But Mudang sometimes shows up. I lifted a lot of Mudangs the other
3,000
day.
Mudangs.
3,000 Mudangs.
Yeah.
I mainly wanted to ask that as kind of a curveball. To, again, just show people that like Eddie Pinero is a super well-rounded guy. He's a great dude. He's got you got a lot going on other than just what's on YouTube. And,
appreciate it, brother.
And by the way, and if people want to learn where to get with you, no matter where you're listening, you just look below. All your links, your social medias, your websites, all that kind of stuff is on there. But if there's any final thoughts you'd like to give anyone, give the floor.
Just if you do need more info on Mudang or anything like that, just feel free to reach out.
Your world within, ladies. Your world within. All right, brother. Eddie Pinero.
Hey, I appreciate you guys.
There is a Mudang in your world.
There
within.
is.
That's right. All right, brother. Take care. Cheers.